I am Adam Sowards, your game master and host, and with me is a bunch of folks who are ready to go on an adventure. But who are these heroes? Well, I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. I'm Caleb James Miller. I'll be playing Dull Ozon, and it's time for all of you to meet my mommy.
Hi, I'm VJ Stonecraft. I'm playing Theophania or Theo, and I promise I won't fall in love with your mommy.
I'm Sarah Kinney. I will be playing Winnie Chandler, and I make no such promises about mommy.
I am Kerri Smith. I am playing Vetra, and I am just ready to meet Dull's mom, because it's your turn, Caleb.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
Mommy. Sorry. With that all said, let's get into the adventure. You feel cold where you are, but there's these strange waves of heat that sort of waft over you and then goes back to cold. But you feel trapped in here. You smell incense, fresh running water. You hear what seems to be like a very slow-moving, calm little river running through here, and the clink of little lanterns around you. And as you open your eyes, you're in a very fancy looking room, very low lit. The lamps are turned down very, very much. A door has shut behind you, and you see this very fancy Roman-esque looking, almost like bathhouse restaurant. But this is a secluded room, and there's a single stream running through, but the room is cold, and you see that the warmth from the river has created this sort of fog, this mist in the room, but you can still see the figure across the room, which is a orc woman, probably about late 40s, very masculine beautiful, in this very big furred coat. They're sitting there very confidently with her gaze upon you, and they just said, "Hello, my son." And the camera turns around, and we see our four heroes who are very sleepy. And could you all please briefly describe your characters and tell us what you are feeling at this moment?
I'm Dull Ozon, the half-orc rogue, and I'm feeling very conflicted here, and I think it's maybe the only point that Dull would let anything like that cross his face. He's desperately trying to keep things under a poker face, not doing so well at that. But he's a handsome individual at maybe 6'5", a little shorter than his mother. He is athletically built, but in sort of like a swimmer's body. He is wearing still the same robes that he was wearing to the party last session. So these very highly decorated Falkian robes that might match some of his mother's clothing today. Something that he's probably amiss about. He did not want to match his mother or his homeland today, but some things can't be helped. Many fur-lined, cowled robes that run over some leather and green fineries. But he's looking a little shocked to be looking at his mother.
What is Dull thinking in this moment? Like, he's shocked, but like, what
I think that in this moment, Dull is treating this in the same way that you do when you're playing a highly strategic game and someone surprises you on the other side of the board. It is like shock, but genuine, like, oh, well played. As if this is the only answer now that it's happened. In this moment, he goes, oh, I should have seen this coming. This should have been what I'd been expecting this entire time. And maybe that is a lot of copium for a Dull to try and neglect what he's actually feeling past that, but he's trying to push that to the forward.
Vetra is also wearing mostly the same clothes that she was wearing to the party. It's sort of like an in-between of the Tor Morgaine like furs and leathers. Some of those furs have been removed, so it's more of just the leathers themselves, but still not kind of shed of that Tor Morgaine style. She has a few braids in her hair. It's like a dark blonde, kind of like a little bit messy from lack of sleep. Eyes tired, and she stands scanning the room, looking at everything but her companions and this woman, basically on like protection detail of sorts, like just keeping an eye on the rest of the room, knowing this is not her conversation.
I'd say you'd notice that like there is only that one door leading into this room. I mean, besides, I guess, wherever the water is coming from, but it seems like there's only that one entrance or exit. But it does feel a bit. You don't know why, because you're very confident, but it feels more that she's not trapped in there with you. You're trapped in there with her.
Mm-hmm.
Winnie is standing pretty near to Dole. I think they kind of started walking towards this location together from the estate. And Winnie's clothes at the party were just an illusion. So as they walk away from the estate, that simple rough spun dress that she had been wearing fades away. And what's left behind is that very familiar plate mail that she wears that's made of pieces of leather that have sewn into them scales from the dragons who were defeated during the Great War. And she, even though she's only 5'6", she looks a lot bulkier and a lot more imposing with that armor on. And as she steps into this room, her eyes flit from Dole and then to this woman and then back to Dole, and she's curious, not quite sure what to make of this just yet.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely evident to everyone that there's a familial relation here. You don't know if there's like mama, but it's definitely like they're definitely related somehow.
Theo is also in the room. She is as far from Dole as physically she can be while still being in the room. So I'm picturing her like almost against like the opposite wall, like leaning against it, just trying to make herself smaller and smaller. If one of us cannot have figured out that they're related yet, I would suggest that that would be Theo.
Okay.
Hasn't quite figured it out yet. Like her gears are still turning a little bit. Mostly she's just still focused on the fact that she and Dole are kind of on the outs at the moment. But Theo is making herself smaller, and it's not that hard because she's wearing a tunic and a cloak which are far too big for her. She's practically swimming in it. And it obviously belongs to somebody a whole lot taller. And she's belted it around the middle to try and make it fit, but it's still far too bulky for her. But she does have her bag of bones at her side. But she's at this moment just kind of trying to figure out where they are, who they're talking to, and whether or not Dole is extremely angry at her, or just a little bit angry at her.
And as the camera sort of zooms out a little bit to encompass the whole room again, you all remember what it is that you are doing here. You have been given these tasks, I guess, to be able to defeat Tom. And the first task was being able to get inside of their lair, their castle. And the step to do that was to find their servant who would have a way to get in. And whoever was supposed to be at this meeting was supposed to be Tom's servant. And you hear Helene Ozon from across the room say that again. "Hello, my son. I was beginning to think you would not make it."
Hello, Mother. If you knew me any better, you'd know that that was never a possibility. It's good to see you. You're working with Tom? I think he says that less as a question and much more as a statement. There's a period at the end of it.
So we have begun the game already. Let us play. And she says, what do you see? And I would say there's this brief little flashback to a young doll. And you know that this sort of game that she talks about is a game of reading people. And this is like a thing that she taught you when you were young, where basically you could see these little pieces of information and kind of put together who the person is, how to influence them. So could you kind of paint the scene for us of like a time, maybe the first time, maybe the second time, of when your mother was teaching you this game when you were little?
I think that we're in sort of the open veranda markets of the Falks, which is a cold place. It's like a frosty morning. At the height of these Falkian communities, they build their cities high and condensed so that there are just thousands of people that run throughout these places. Because in between each community, there are these vast wastelands that move on to the next. And so to keep compacted is to keep safe. In these markets, it is a meeting place for all levels, every caste, every tier. And so it's a great place for them to pick out individuals. Here in the morning, both him and his mother are sort of revered and unknown figures. Fangs are not traditionally revealed to the traditional general populace of the Falks. And so this is training with no one understanding outside of those two. And I think his mother has just gone through the process of doing it herself and has now sort of batted him by the shoulder into the center of the veranda and
Like points at someone.
exactly.
It's like, tell me about him. What do you see?
What am I supposed to see? And he looks back at her and back at the stranger. He's wearing a hat.
You must look a little bit closer. Do you see that hat? It is a very expensive hat. It comes from that shop. And she points across the market. You see the shop. And he's like, he has just bought that hat. But if you look a little bit closer, right here, on the elbow, it is worn. Why do you think he bought a new hat when he must patch his shirt? He also looked nervous. Why is that? Perhaps he is doing something important. Now, what does that all mean? Can you put it together for me?
Well, maybe he's going to meet someone he cares about, someone he wants to impress. And maybe he thinks he's going bald.
And your mother sort of smiles. She says, you are seeing much. You are seeing much. You have much to learn.
Why is this important, though? Why does it matter what he's doing? Why does it matter that we know so much about everything?
What you know is your power. Lot of people in this world, there has been talks of people who can do magics. We are not so blessed in that, so we must use our mind, doll. You have a good mind because you are my son. I have a good mind. So that means you do as well. You must use your mind, because that is our greatest weapon. And that is how we make the world a better place. How we make the greater good. Do you understand? Do you
I'm
want
starting
to make the
to.
world a better place?
Yeah.
Then you must learn.
Okay.
And then we pop back to the moment inside of this bathhouse sort of restaurant, and she has just said, let us play the game. What do you see? Tell me what you see.
I see a woman I haven't spoke to in years that wants me to play a game I haven't entertained in decades. But outside of that, I see someone I've never been able to read. Little older, little finer, wrinkles around the eyes, maybe getting tired. Maybe so tired that in her age she's given up the larger games she was playing. and realize that with her multiple years of giving back to her people, that she hasn't actually brought herself any closer to being revered as some sort of hero or god, and realize the same way that I have that no one actually cares when you get things done correctly. So in that misstep, in that age, in that growing, you've pointed yourself in a new direction towards things you understand maybe are going wrong, maybe are going right. I haven't ascertained that much yet. But you, again, want to be a part of a greater political spectrum, one that might give you a reason to be revered. But if I'm going to play the game in a couple years, you're going to learn the same thing I do. Doesn't really matter.
Give me an insight or a perception, or you can use a charisma skill to do this reading thing.
Okay.
Because I feel like you'll notice a couple of different things. Because you're used to doing this, so I feel like you should be good at doing this.
I think that Dull here is not trying to bullshit, which is new for him. But he's dealing with someone he legitimately has been wondering over for years and legitimately has been trying to understand. There's so much history to them, both good and bad, that he's trying to sift through and find who she really is, something he has never been able to answer. So he's going to use insight here instead of any persuasion, which isn't nothing to shake a stick at, but it's a little lower than persuasion. I have a 19.
Okay. I would say you notice that she is here alone, and that speaks something to you. You also notice that she has her hand on the table, and she has a piece of paper underneath her hand, and you notice that is the type of papers that you use to like cast spells, and you notice it is abnormally quiet in this room, sort of similar to a thing that Winnie did a couple of days ago. So there's a couple of little clues for you. I'll let you put them together, but that is what you notice, and it doesn't look like she is on the offensive or anything like that. It is not. You do not feel a malice or a hurt, or like you don't feel danger coming from like she's going to hurt you or your friends.
Yeah. There's one more thing. You've placed a rune under the table. One that makes sure that this is a private conversation. I believe you've come here for good intentions, or even more so, since perhaps you're not capable of those, you came here for us, to tell us something. I think maybe you're working with Tom, but not for Tom. We don't do things like that.
You see her, just a little bit of a smile crack at the edge of her mouth. She says, "You are indeed my son." And she just sort of just smiles at you a little bit, and she's like, "Now I will tell you what I see. Also what I have heard." She looks around at the people in the room. She's like, "You are dressed for battle, yet you are tired. But your weapons are not drawn, so I am not your enemy. But you were prepared to meet such. And things that I have heard, there is a party, a very last-minute party that was happened last night for the Glycinian estate for a man who has died, but also for a man that recently won an auction that had an item that is supposed to deliver you to this meeting. Also, there was a host at this party that was unabashedly wearing the garb of the folks. I also have heard that these reports of heroes are becoming less and less, which explains why you have been seen in meetings with the king. I believe you are also here for Tom." Perhaps we have similar aims. Am I correct?
You're correct. You're missing something, but you're correct.
Oh, there is no doubt that I am missing something. But I have a feeling it is something that you do not want Tom to know. I am working for Tom. I have been since you were so impressive, you and your friends from the Dare Meet incident. We had similar aspirations. But I will ask you one more question. I could very easily call him, but I will not. Why do you think that is? Tell me. Why will I not?
I think you see the same thing we do. A power unchecked that might rival the gods and bring down the sky. And there are a lot of things that have been said of you, Mother. A lot of the same things that are said of me, just in association. But for all of your perceived selfishness, of all your perceived guilt, you have never been a woman that disregards the importance of life.
She nods. He is dangerous, and I am going to kill him. And I would like your help. It would have been difficult to do on my own, but with having the Knights of Nemeria, it would be easier. Less chance of failure, more chance of saving world.
You are not asking for us to help you.
I'm asking for you to, whatever it is that you need, perhaps you can acquire it while also helping me do this. I've helped him in his work, and I have seen that he's become dangerous over the years. I believed at first that they could have similar magic knowledge shared, but I've seen it gone more dangerous. Collecting the experiments and doing what is required. He has gone closer to mad, has become more reclusive, spends all of his time in a mirror, and does not come out. He is finishing his thing, and it is something that the world does not need.
So you know what he's planning then?
I have helped him. Up until now. Until I have seen that he is stubborn and keeps the people that he wants to protect, wants to help, he keeps making it worse. He wants immortality. But he has not succeeded yet. But he is very close.
We can have this conversation, Mother. And I think my friends would be amenable to hearing what you have to say and perhaps even agreeing to your terms. But before we do, there are two things. One, these are my friends. Theophinia, Winnie Chandler, Petra Vikander. They have been by my side since Dairy Meat. They have kept me safe. They have kept me well. They have kept me loved. And you've done the great disrespect of not asking their names. So I would have you stand and in Falkian gesture, bid them welcome.
when you first said, "These are my friends," you saw a look on her face that you know, which is like, you know that your mother feels that emotional attachments are weakness. So you saw that look on her face, but then you see it quickly goes away and turns into politeness. And she stands, she says, "My apologies. It is nice to make all of your acquaintance. I have heard many good and impressive things about the Knights of Nemeria, who are friends to my dear son. I am Ch02. It is wonderful to make your acquaintance." She looks at all of you.
Thank you, but I don't think I should be counted in that number. I don't think we're friends anymore. Sorry.
Theo's upset with me right now.
It seems like a problem that doesn't need to be. What is important is what lays ahead, not your emotions. But it is good to meet you all nonetheless. And the second thing?
Oh, the second thing was that you misunderstand. We're not helping you. You're helping us. This has next to nothing to do with what you're trying to accomplish. If anything, you could be arrested today, tomorrow, the day after for assisting in whatever Tom has been doing. So, in your right nature, you're coming to the Knights of Nemeria asking to assist. This is our call. It's been so since we were decreed by powers much larger than you or I, Mother. So, we would love to have that conversation, but this is much more a collaboration of sorts.
I can see that you have a lot of emotions behind your words, dear son.
I think that you like to use that as a way of controlling me.
Your observations are your own. But what is important is that for the greater good, Tom must die. I do not care for your reasons or for your objectives. I'm sure they are, being my son, I know that they are just. Albeit perhaps misguided a tad, but I am sure just. I am offering inside knowledge and assistance in doing whatever it is that you need to do, if you assist me in this. It is a simple plan, but I do require assistance. If it is to succeed, and if the world is to survive.
We open it up to discussion among the Knights of Nemeria, then. You can speak with her. She's not nearly as scary as she seems.
She smiles. You see the little tusks sort of poking through.
Doll, I'm sorry, but I don't believe you. Still seems pretty scary.
Oh. The stories are largely made up.
She looks side to side. It's just sort of shifty.
I think she has merit. I don't know what the rest of you think. I can't say that I'm excited to work with her, but it has been some time. It might be nice to see my mother again, and she obviously has something we need.
I, for one, would like to hear what kind of plan you've been putting together.
I will give you the simple natures of it. But the majority of it you must, unfortunately, trust me. I know that might be impossible to do, but that is how it is.
I am kind of over being used in someone else's plan. Being left in the dark when I could have very easily been trusted with information that for whatever reason that person was too afraid to share. I think keeping things to yourself like this is a form of cowardice. There's got to be something you can share with us, something compelling.
Very well. There is something that you must do before it is to begin, because the protections inside of the castle are attuned to me only. So you must find some sort of way of magical disguise. I do not mean appearing as servant. It must be magic that can hide you from other magic. Something I am not attuned, well, I am not all too knowledgeable in the magics, but I have a rough knowledge. Perhaps you all might be more skilled at finding such an item or spell. But that is something that is required, otherwise I am still doing this on my own. That must be found first, to get you inside.
I have a question.
Yes.
If there is a system in place that only recognizes you as the sole operator of the tower itself
And
outside of Tom, then shouldn't there be a system in place within the tower's infrastructure in that way? Some sort of magical ward that separates? Or is it Tom constantly casting this magic? Couldn't you, in theory, go into the tower yourself and disable this?
You never really seen your mother be not confident before, but she just, slight little hint of that. She goes back, she says, I know where my skills begin and end in disabling a very complicated series of magical wards and enchantments is not among them. Perhaps if I had the knowledge of one of you, perhaps I could do it, yes. There is such a thing. I could look around more.
So,
However,
we would have two
it-
options then. We could
Yes.
either go in disguised, or we could find a way to disable the wards.
True. After that is done, when you are inside, there are two things that must happen. He must be drawn out, and then we must kill him. Right now, he exists in a place that I do not understand. It is between where we are and somewhere else. But
Vetra
that
looks
is-
at Theo when that is said.
But that is what I know.
How do you think the tower would take to there being... What if the tower thought there were more of you?
I am not sure. As I said, I am not well attuned. The problem is we cannot risk something going wrong. So whatever it is that you all will decide to do must work. Otherwise you will be, she snaps, killed.
Mother, the wards, do they only work on this plane?
This what?
On this plane?
I would say that at least with the stuff that you've learned from Theo, that is the first time you've ever heard of there being other worlds. So, I mean, maybe there's some talk about like the ethereal, maybe a little bit. But it looks like Helene is a little confused. She's like, what?
I
I'm
think
not
Dull
sure.
fucking loves that she's confused. I think he turns back to the others and go, well, then we could construct an object that sets all of us into the other plane. And then that item is kept on top of Helene here. She walks through the gate and then we come out. Could we manufacture something like that?
I mean, your idea has so many arcane merits. There's certainly a way to make that happen, and I would be interested in trying to do so, but I can't even fathom how much time or materials it would take to come up with something like that from scratch. If we could find something that got us most of the way there, maybe I could work on it, but that's I think what you've proposed exists mostly in theory. At least right now.
Question for Adam. Is it safe to assume that my trips to Limbo using my dagger and death magic, that is in fact a different plane, and that I have gone there to a
Yes.
different plane
Yeah.
many times? Okay.
Yeah. I will say that it's sort of like though your character doesn't have a soul, it is kind of like your soul or your consciousness is jumping there, but your body obviously is still here on the material plane. So it's like yes, you have, but it's not taking like your full body there or something.
Yeah, so turns out that when I, do the whole dagger stab the dead body or the bones magic situation that I used to do all the time before it stopped, kind of I was in a different plane for that, I think. Like hell, like down there. It might have been where I was going. I think it was a different plane. So I'm not sure we're really dealing so much with theory here, Winnie, as my reality.
We could maybe bridge the gap. We could take what Winnie Chandler has been able to create on this realm and what Theo has been able to harness beyond all belief in the other, and create something that is uniquely of two worlds to bridge us through that door.
The problem is not entering. The problem is the enchantments themselves once you are inside. If you are not myself or Tom, they will go off. There is a way to get in. She holds up a quill. She's like, there is a way to get in. I do it all the time. That is the easy part. It is once you are inside. But however, that is not something of my expertise. If you believe you have a way to get in, you must be 200% sure that it will work. Otherwise, she holds up her hands.
I don't think any of our plans have ever gone 200% correct. I'm not sure any of our plans have ever gone 20% correct.
Well, then that is a problem.
I'm not even sure if we've actually made a plan and followed through with it.
Yeah, remember the tower?
Could we all stop saying this in front of my mother?
Yeah, she sort of starts to lean back. She says, sort of to herself, perhaps I have chosen the wrong group.
Have you all met
Oh, was
me?
there another one to choose from?
Do you know how I would react to all the things that you all just said? Just times that by 2 and remove any care for you.
Yeah, Theo continues to list every time we fucked up in the entirety of this entire show.
Yes.
Theo, please.
So when we come into the tower, perhaps we can borrow that quill from you. Are we able to determine the location that we come into the tower at?
I'm gonna roll a very important d6. Fuck. There is several entrances that you can choose from.
Good.
But
Now,
not deep in, but there is different entrances, yes.
now, how many of those? I mean, one, we should get a map from you because it'd be nice to be able to navigate easily, and I'm sure that's something you could procure. But these wards, I think Theo, this idea, Dole, with the using the blade maybe as an anchor and trying something. We've got a couple days, right, to take this theory and turn it into something. But if that doesn't work, our backup is dismantling those wards.
How did you know about the blade?
Say again?
What blade are you talking about?
What blade are you talking about?
She remains silent and waits for you to speak.
I remain silent and her to speak.
Theo
This is
does
like-
not pick up on this tension at all and begins to speak.
Theo, no!
Blade, do you know about the dagger? Did Vigo tell you about the dagger? Do you know about it?
Your uncle that is dead. I am speaking of a different one. It is how Tom is. It is the crucible to his immortality. I do not know much about it, but it is the item that Tom is perfecting each time. Each time he wishes to test the immortality. I was sent with the dagger. Small cut. Every time, wrong result, I record it, return the information back to Tom, he makes changes.
What do you mean wrong result?
I think you know.
As
That
in
is
he
why I-
dies.
Hmm?
As in he dies.
As
As
in,
in-
there is wrong results. It has turned them into monsters.
Can Theo roll a perception check to see if she figures out that, Vorley was probably one of these test subjects?
I don't think you need to roll. Forley was one of the little tests that happened.
Does Tom keep this blade on him?
Whenever I am not sent to do the testing, yes. It is precious to him. But the cost for using it is far worse than I could have imagined. The dragon bones before, is what he told me, made it easier. Did not require such a cost, but now there are empty villages.
Can I ask you something?
She looks at you.
How many heroes and how many innocent people did you kill before you realized that this cost was too high?
She does not answer you. What is important that we must stop it now? And I do not have any help from the folks. I will do this on my own, or I will do this with your assistance.
What did he tell you he was trying to do?
Immortality. To change the world. I still to this day believe it could make the world a better place. It is for the greater good, could make the folks stronger. Which it could, if it worked. But it has not. And he continues. Every time saying, it will work this time. He has said that when I have returned this last time. And I do no longer believe him. Do you wish to help?
I think I don't speak for everyone, but I think I need time in order to decide if this is the right direction for us. But it seems as though you've told us what you have, a way in, an awareness of what he has, and a way to get to him. Unless there's anything else, I need time.
There is time to prepare. But I must need your answer.
I know you don't understand emotions, but he said he needs time.
We have to drop off something with a friend. Anyways, give us at least until we reach then, and I'll send a bat.
"4 days. And I will do what needs to be done. You will be there or you will not. That is what I that is when I will communicate with you. I hope to see you there. And she puts down the quill on the table, and she says, the word is K.o.N, and that is how you will enter. Use both. She looks at the quill, and you can assume she means you have the object, you say the word, a door will open. And she starts to walk out of the room. And unless there's anything you'd like to say, she's going to leave.
Yeah, Winnie wordlessly looks at her as she leaves, looks at Dole, looks back at her. There's so many questions that Winnie wants to ask, but she also wants to respect that Dole needs time, so she just sits there, just choking on words.
I would also say, Dole, as soon as your mother leaves, you get a message from her that only you can hear. She says, when the time comes, there must be a distraction. Those who go to the distraction will die. Those that come with me will live. If the distraction does not work, neither will work. I would hope you would come with me. It might not seem I know your friends are important to you, but would you like to save the world? Or would you like to be like Vigo and die? It would be best if they did not know. Otherwise, he could read their mind. And you can choose to send a message back or not. Okay.
Yeah, I just keep that in the back of my mind right now. I gotta wait until the gang is talking to bring any of that up.
I think the first thing that is said is Vetra to Dole says, "Are you okay?"
Oh, I'm fine. I just honestly think we need a day or two to discuss what she has brought to the table, because it's very possible that she has plans in mind that don't include us.
But what do we need her for now?
Well, now that we've been given the key inside the door, the only thing that we would need her for is, Winnie, you said something about us being kept in the dark, and how we're all very much sick of being told that we are not allowed to know what the other person has in hand. This is in an effort to remind all of you that you can think that I'm a little hard, and yes, you can think that sometimes I'm unemotional and I ignore that some of you are going through things that are much harder than I can realize in the next 10 days. But she just said in my mind that she intends to provide a distraction inside of the tower, and that if we go with the distraction, we'll die, and if we follow her, we'll get a chance to fight Tom. Meaning, at the moment that we step inside, I have something to believe that my mother intends to cause something to happen inside of the tower or inside of this city in order to draw the attention of everyone else so that Tom is off kilter. I want us all to be honest, and I want you all to know that she invited me alone to follow her into whatever that is, which breathes to me the intention to kill the rest of you, while I follow her to fight Tom. Meaning that we may have two issues on the other side of that door.
You have an incredible poker face, Dole.
Yeah. It's hereditary.
Beginning to see that. Shit.
It's not mine to believe it to be unnecessary, but it is a fact of what is happening once we arrive. Whether
Okay,
it's...
but look, we're already planning on at least tricking this place into believing we're someone else, at least for a moment. Who's to say the distraction's not the same thing? Nobody has to get hurt by a distraction, and also, we don't have to go in the same door she goes into.
I know my mother, and if she's preparing something like this, it will be a lot more fatalist than we understand.
And what's stopping us from, with the knowledge we have, going in a day early and moving up the plan if you don't think we can trust your mother to keep us alive?
We could. And this is not an argument against it. But it was something she said in my head before she left. She said we could either decide to save the world or to continue being like Vigo and her. The conversation there, I believe, is that she is worried we're going to try and solve every life that's going to be lost that day. I don't know if there's merit to that. I don't know if we can get out unscathed and save every life. And I know that's hard to hear, and it sounds like I'm agreeing with her, but I'm just bringing up the conversation that if we all die on the way to Tom, none of this gets solved.
I think going in with your mother would be... We all know we can't trust her. None of us are going to trust her, even if we say that we do when we're going in. We walk into that building and we're constantly having our attention split between watching our backs from her and watching our backs from Tom. If we go in on our own, with each other, we know we have each other's backs. All we have to worry about is Tom.
We also know that your mother is smart, so if we go in a day early or we do something different with the plan, she's not the one in charge of all of the movements, all of the strategy. We are. So she has to catch up, not us. She's caught on her back feet. So she has less time to do whatever it is.
I can almost guarantee that if we go in a day early, she won't even follow. It is her intention to do it when she does, at her own beck and call, and accomplish what she believes she can do her own. She may even be banking that we go against her so that she can use the off-kilter motion that we create for Tom to take advantage of herself. And I'm only speaking this way because, to a certain degree, I am her. A better her. And I know that years ago I would be thinking the same thing. That it doesn't really matter what the group of us do, because all have a plan that has next to nothing to do with us. She's banking that we help. She's banking that we're there for the distraction. She's banking that most of us will be distracted. And we'll follow that through and create an ample enough destruction that Tom trips. But she also doesn't care if we go the other way. That's the trouble with her. She's going to plan for everything.
I think we need to be prepared for what her real plan is, which is, I'm assuming, to get that dagger. He hands it to her all the time. But, I mean, you heard her. She knew what the plan was originally. She knew what he was wanting, and she agreed with it.
Petra, can you give me a wisdom save real quick?
Haha.
Oh, shit.
I sure can. Yeah, with my +0. That's a 2.
You really think you're smart enough to be giving advice like this? Maybe you should stay in your corner.
You hear from your father.
Listen, you might be right. I used to think I knew my mother. I still think I do. I don't think she's capable of that, but you might be right. She
Did she,
has a reputation, and she is exactly as dangerous as I've described her, but she doesn't want malice for the world. She makes calculated, unthinking decisions. Or, I'm sorry, unfeeling decisions, but she's not evil. That's the whole misconception. Us walking into the first tower with a collar around my neck, the first thing everyone believes of me is that I'm an evil, lying traitor. But it has so much more behind it than that.
You can do evil things and think you're doing them for the right reasons.
She said it herself that she's realized this is wrong. Now, I'm not debating that she took entirely too much time to discern that for herself. But if she's saying that it is done in malice, then I can almost promise she won't do that. If she said she's going for Tom, I believe she's going for Tom. I believe she'll do anything to get there.
Anything.
Including sacrificing us, but I appreciate that maybe in her own moment of sentimental weakness, as she put it, she told you her plan, which gives us options. It gives us the ability to choose how we want to play a part in this. And if I'm being perfectly honest, she's dangerous, and that's why I'd like to fight with her against Tom. I've been thinking about how that fight goes, and any extra edge we can get, I want. So if taking some gambles on her helps that fight go a little bit better for us, I'm okay with it. And then as for the distraction, whatever it may be, we can choose to ignore it. We can choose to run past. And I don't know, if things really seem to be going completely sideways, then we also get to make a choice, but we get to make it knowing how things are probably going to go.
I'm with you, and I think it's the best route. Instead of following the distraction, we do exactly what she asked of us. But together, we walk into that chamber and we fight Tom alongside her. The best place for her is in our sight. And for the distraction, we bevy forces. We speak with anyone we can draw support with. Maybe I can call a meeting of the other heroes and we can be honest with them in our last moments before we make an attack on the tower. We prepare them for whatever that distraction might be, so that if it does come to happen that innocents are put in the line, that at least then we did something while we make our way for Limbo.
I just need you to be prepared, Dol, because we've done this before. Davith fought alongside us.
And you let me die.
we've put our trust in one mentor just to be stabbed in the back by another. I don't see how this situation is any different. We're not learning from our mistakes. We're just blindly repeating them.
Okay, so what is the alternative?
I don't know, and we all know that a storm is fucking coming, and if I am being honest with all of you, none of us are ready to face it, not together or alone. We are...
Especially not you.
We are fragmented. We need to fix all of that before we do whatever it is we're gonna do. I was with you then, and I'm with you now, and I will be with you until however it ends.
You're what's gonna get them killed.
You're unsure about what to do right now. But you do know that you have a lot of information waiting for you at the place where you're supposed to meet M in the city of Thanes, where you are now.
Look, we're all fucking exhausted. Let's go to this meeting place and then let's get some sleep. Sleep on it. And talk when we wake up.
Sure. Yes.
You have 5 days left. So you leave this aqueduct back into the city of Thanes, which is this Romanesque city, but it's a little bit fantasy. So like the buildings are a little bit taller, a little bit more precarious. Perhaps you see a couple of griffins sort of flying above. There is a lot of little chariot sort of style things that people are driving around the town. Everyone's wearing sort of togas. And as you cross through the city, you get near the docks sort of district, and you stop at the place that you were supposed to meet M. Crawley at Silvarin and Sons, and it's sort of pale blue painted by the docks, a little building, and it looks like a restaurant, and it has a spaghetti plate painted on the side of the building, and it looks like the whole block in front of it is sort of, there's no traffic going on there. It looks like it's been kind of blocked off, but there are mercenaries standing around, and they look at you all, and they just step out of the way, letting you pass.
That's kind of nice. All right, guess we'll go. I don't know, I could eat something if that's all right while we're here. I haven't eaten things not prepared by Mortimer in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had something that wasn't chicken.
Damn it, that's what I was gonna say.
I'd say the mercenary hooks a thumb inside of the restaurant for you to enter, and all of you enter inside of the restaurant, and it looks like a very, like, it would be a very big and busy restaurant. I would say probably, since your headquarters are here, you would hear this is a very popular restaurant. But it's completely empty, except for like a couple of chefs and then 2 people. You see one, which you recognize as M. Crawley, which is a slightly feminine, more androgynous half-orc figure who has a very haunted expression, very bags under their eyes and a white streak in their very short hair, very Edgar Allan Poe-esque. They look almost like a scarecrow as they sort of turn around to see you. And they're standing next to a very a feminine-looking moon elf who has very long, curly, black, luxurious hair. They're sort of like a femme fatale in a like dark black sequiny dress, and sort of turns around and they're like, "Who's that?" And M. Crawley says, "Oh yes, they are here for a delivery," and they cross over to you. Did you have it?
Despite all odds, we were successful, actually. One of our better, I wouldn't call it a plan, but it worked.
I heard about the party.
Did you now?
Yes. Good job.
Thanks. Word gets around quickly here.
Yes, it is a very gossipy city.
And they pull it out their hand.
Winnie will palm over the item that we picked up and then look over at the moon elf who's there.
She's busy looking you up and down. Very appraisingly.
I don't mean to be rude, but should she be here for what comes next?
You see M. Crawley sort of like involuntarily sort of reach towards their eye patch, and they're like,
yes, I think she should be.
Oh.
And you see the woman say,
perhaps I might be able to offer a little bit of insight.
And
Sicaria.
perhaps some assistance.
Pleased to meet you.
I thought so.
And so you hand over this thing. It's in like a little jar, and it's basically an eyeball that's sort of floating in the jar. There's no liquid, it's just floating in the jar. Magically, you would assume. And it's like almost looks maybe like a snake eye. It has a sort of like slit sort of thing. You hand it over, and then Crawley hands it over to Sicaria, and she looks very surprised. She's like, "Oh, you dirty little Crawley." And she's like, "I thought it would make you feel more comfortable." And she's like, "You always know what to do." And Sicaria gives Crawley a little kiss, and then turns back to you all, and Crawley's like, "Well, I guess a deal is a deal." And then begins to tell you the rest of the information. So to reiterate, 3 steps. First step was to get into the lair, and that was to find the servant who would have an item or something or spell to get you inside of the lair. Already done. Step 2, Crawley says, once you're inside, Neems needs some sort of means of magical protection, some way of hiding you or preventing the enchantments from triggering. As the expression goes, never let a wizard plan. Such an item, such a spell, the only one that I know that would have such would be Veridin herself. We do have the location of where she is. It is 2 days' ride from here. But I will say, I will caution you, nothing comes for free. So if you wish to trade such an important item, you may need to trade something of equal importance. The third is to find their item of power, which is most likely a focus, something that they use for spells or something, perhaps a wand or a book,
Dagger.
something. And you must destroy it. I know that seems very simple, but to destroy something that has extraordinary means, you must also have something of equal time and effort. And Sicaria speaks up. She says, to destroy M's grimoire, I sharpened one knife for a year, and I did not use it for anything else. All that time and that effort is a magic in and of itself. It was very easy. Sorry, love. No offense.
Yeah, a year is one of the most powerful things. Concentrated. It's nothing but power when you have one to spend. We don't have a year to spend sharpening a knife or doing anything. We have 5 days.
I think that
Well, then you must be creative.
we may have something.
I also would suggest studying those who are most well known are also at their most weakest because they are so well known. Studying their histories and their battles, learning their abilities and weaknesses would also be of some merit. And then Sicaria says, and if anything else, just be fast and quiet.
How would you feel about helping us out? Either one of you.
Sicaria, no.
Go for round 2? Why not?
I did my deed back in the day. We are leaving. You actually caught us at a very opportune time. We're actually leaving within the day. And she looks over to M.
Must be nice.
Sicaria looks at M. It is.
As long as we succeed, that is.
Best of luck. And M just sort of, well, if that's everything, I wish you luck. And Goodbye. And
Thanks.
they sort of turn back to the chefs who are just like presenting different meals, and they're going around with little forks and sort of testing them and being like, oh, that one with that wine. Looks like they're preparing for a journey, and they're selecting their food. And at this little moment, Doll, you feel another little click on that little circle compass cryptex thing.
I take it out immediately. We've got another message here.
And you see a folded letter and a little coin.
I want to read the letter.
You read the letter. And I would say also, Winnie, give me an Arcana check real quick.
Yeah, seeing that it's popped open, Winnie is exceptionally curious about what made it go off, because she certainly couldn't figure it out earlier. 19.
I would say it's sort of the combined magics of the two people standing near you. But the thing that the Arcana check is mostly on was this specific coin. Now, this coin, it looks like a normal gold coin, but you know better. Like the faces are different on it. And basically, you see the face of Vigo on there. And you know that there's ways to make these things. And basically what it is it's a snapshot of you at a point in time where you can talk with someone. But basically once it is done, it disintegrates, it's gone forever. But it's basically a way to talk with someone at a certain point in time. It kind of like records your person so you can like realistically have a conversation with this person. And you know that it's triggered by a certain person's touch. Yeah. So, Dull, as you begin to read the letter, it says, "This is the last one I will send. Only time will tell if you receive them at all. The plan is foolish, but I can think of no other. It seems the flying castle will have to do. It will only delay their plan, but hopefully afterwards you will have discovered that which I could not find myself. A way to stop them. Secrecy is your greatest weapon. Keep it near you always. As for my gift, its value lies not only in its ability, but more so in its worth. It is a strange thing to have despised hope, when it is all that I have left in the end. Become the heroes we could not." And you see, it is underlined, it says, "My gift" is underlined, and then "worth" is underlined, and it is addressed to Theo, this letter.
That coin you've got, it'll fire up it'll let us talk to the person who made it, most likely. I think maybe we should get back to the manor before we do that. Find somewhere where no one can eavesdrop.
If this is a snapshot of Vigo, and then he goes to the first cryptex and he takes out the sending stone, then who does this talk to?
You see Sicaria look at you as you're holding up that little stone, and she's like, "Oh, you had the other one."
Oh, God. That answers that. But this means he's really dead.
Maybe not, though. I mean, maybe, but maybe not. It's not that it's not like he put his entire soul or being into it. It's more that he put a moment of himself into it. But, I mean, we don't know.
I think he just kind of flips the coin in Winnie's direction.
And Winnie will grab it, expecting it to not go off.
It does not.
Theo, I'm pretty sure this is for you. But once you touch it, it'll go. So we need to be somewhere better, and I don't know, you need to be ready. Because it only works once.
Theo stuffs her hands as far as she can down into the pockets of Dull's tunic and shakes her head and says, "You know, I hope he is dead. I hope it is just a snapshot of him from one single moment. But even if he is dead, he still won't leave us alone."
Y'all want to go home? Is that the plan?
Specifically to Winnie's office, because the group can speak there.
You leave the restaurant, maybe saying goodbye to Crawley and Sicario, or just leaving, and you make your way across the city, and as you're getting within like a couple of blocks of Southmont Manor, you get a message. I would say, Winnie, you get a message from Mortimer, and it basically says, the King's Guard are here. The King has requested an audience. It seems a little bit more mandatory. Would you like me to open up the back door?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you, Mortimer. Oh my gosh, today's to-do list just keeps getting longer.
So you want to avoid the King's Guard?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like everyone to give me a stealth check then.
24.
7.
14.
6.
Okay. So y'all are getting near the manor. You see the back gate opens, which would lead to a path to get to the back, and then you hear about you hear someone like a troop sort of rounding the corner, and you see King's Guard, and they sort of stop, and they're like, halt! The king has requested the Knights of Nemeria's presence. Immediately, if you'd be so kind.
It doesn't really need to be immediately.
He stands a little bit straighter. The king has insisted.
Is there any way he can meet us here?
His eyes, he looks incredibly surprised. You dare to suggest the king? Come
You know what?
down to... I will pretend that I did not hear that.
You know what? Give me 1 second. I'm tired of dealing with you already. And Winnie will step backwards and then cast the sending spell, trying to ping the king directly.
How far is that?
As long as they're on the same plane of existence, it works.
Okay. All right. What do you want to?
As long as he's not in like his own private sanctum that prevents.
No. Yeah. So, what do you want to say to the king who has requested your presence? I will also let you all know, he did send you on a very important quest. You returned to the city, had a party,
said we should turn in from the beginning.
We have had other things to do.
I will just present that situation to
the first
you all.
thing Dull said when he got back to the fucking city.
Actually, before Winnie will just like look to the group. Do we want to try to push this off a bit and do the first thing first, or do we just want to go talk?
Push off the king, the king of the land, the man in charge of everything we do.
Yeah.
We could do it a second time. That would be exciting, wouldn't it?
You do see that the king's guards, they are resting their hands on their swords.
We could invite all of these men to stab us repeatedly for not checking in.
Honestly, it would be their funeral, but I mean...
You see one in the back that's just like...
Vetra's hand is on her sword. Just...
Oh, God. And Winnie will cast message or sending to try to contact the king.
Okay.
It's Chandler. sorry about the delay. Can we have, like, I don't know, 2 more hours?
Can we have 5 more days? And then if we run out of time, it just won't matter anymore.
Give
Or
me...
until tomorrow?
Tell them we're done. We did it. Tell them we did it. Is there enough? We did it.
Give me a
We
persuasion.
did it. We'll give
with
details later.
disadvantage.
Also, we did it. A 15.
You get a response.
No.
I'll expect you within the hour.
Is that enough? Is that enough, or do we just want to deal with the king right now?
Oh, monarchs.
I guess Theo, this is kind of up to you. Are you? Do you want to get which conversation do you want to get over with first?
You know, now that you mention it, maybe putting off talking to Vigo for a while would be a good idea. Now that you bring that up, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. I've kind of been repressing a lot of things for a while. So how about we talk to the king and we let him know that we've done a really good job, and then we take a really long nap, and then maybe we talk to Vigo if I'm feeling up to it.
Maybe.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that sounds great. You know what? Fuck it. We'll go with you right now. And then when he points at the guy who looked scared in the back, you're gonna be all right. And maybe start
Stand up
working on your
straight.
resume and look for a different job.
My father was a King's Guard, and I thought I'd be a King's Guard too.
Well,
Shut
until your
up,
King's
man.
Guard,
Sorry.
until your King's Guard is ready for us, it's borderline useless.
Yeah.
Will you come with us to the Royal Palace?
Yes,
Absolutely.
let's go. Let's get
Actually,
this
we know
done.
the way there, so we'll just kind of see ourselves over, and you can go.
Absolutely. They don't move.
Let's go.
And
We bought an hour, so let's take as much of that hour as we need to walk over. I know we're in a rush, but we're not in a rush. So we've got 5 whole days for me to be ready. Well, I guess probably more like 4 whole days for me to be ready to have this conversation with Vigo. So why don't we take our time? We bought some time. We can just go at a nice little trot. We don't have to rush.
Vetra
Right?
is full
Yeah.
stomping, like just wants to
Vetra, why are you
fucking
going
go
so
to
fast?
sleep. Vetra just wants to go to sleep, and it's just like stomping. Like, I guess we have to do this now. Full like toddler mode. I'm tired and want to take a nap.
Oh God, is Vetra mad at me now too?
No, you're fine, Theo. Deep breaths. I do think it would behoove us to discuss perhaps a distraction plan for the king. How can he help us now that we've done a great thing for him and he owes us? As we discussed a couple days ago when we arrived in the city, and I said we should take care of this then.
Yeah, yes, Dole. We know you're always correct.
Thank you. I'm glad that we're now starting to realize.
I honestly wonder if it would be possible to tell him that he needs to have his armies be able to mobilize at a moment's notice, and help us on in a couple days. I think maybe we'd request that of him.
A small detachment for us, a small army for us.
No details though, just because we don't know who's listening.
That's very true. Very true.
So, you all make your way to the Royal Palace. You were led through the Hall of Heroes, which has all of those big statues of all of the 13 heroes. You recognize Crawley in one of the statues, and you are led up by the steward, Buckland, who is sort of who is Edrard Canaan's right-hand man, and he leads you up to that same war room from before. And you hear a little bit of a conversation as you are being led into it, and you see what looks like a ranger in there, like a forest ranger, and you hear him say, "My king, there's just too much forest to cover. We simply just need more men." And you hear the king, "Right then. We did get a couple of help from Veridin recently. She sent us wards, so I'll send a couple of detachments with you and use these wards at your disposal. Hopefully we can Hopefully it'll help. He's like, and also, tell my bastard of a son to the north to make sure that he actually sends help next time and not his father's responsibility. That'll be all. And the rangers, thank you. And he leaves and he takes all of these papers that are bound up, and it seems like there are magical wards. And he leaves through the door, passing by you, and then you are led into the room with Edelard Kanan, a very big, large bear of a man who has red beard, red hair, a lot of scars on him. Very big lad. So, care to explain yourselves?
Well, just for starters, I appreciate giving us a little bit more time. I hope that wasn't completely unwelcome. It's been a busy couple of days.
I've heard.
We're kind of on a clock.
I've heard there was quite a large party the other night with all the fancy nobility of Thanes invited.
Oh, yes, I apologize, King. That was my doing. It was some old friends from a lineage long gone. They're great donors of the Academy ourselves, and a huge boon to the Knights of Nemeria. It was something that became pressing, a scheduling issue. I talked to Mortimer
So
about
I
it.
assume that there is a need for celebration, then.
Absolutely. Right, everyone? We were abundant in our successes.
Care to explain them to me, then?
Absolutely.
What did you find?
We found the hero of merit, who had been befallen by some curse and changed irrevocably by her time in that forest. She was no longer herself. She was an aberration, an abomination of form. And as such, it was up to us and the Knights of Nemeria.
And Stuart Buckland shuts the doors.
It was up to us and the Knights of Nemeria to give her her final rest in whatever form she had amassed.
He holds up his hand. Vorley or spine was cursed and turned into a monster.
Unfortunately, King.
Well, who's behind this? How did that happen?
That is what we are investigating further. And it was a reason for our stalling with our meeting with you, King.
I'm still waiting to hear why there was a need for celebration and not a very urgent need to come and tell me this information. This is one hero, perhaps it is more.
We brought that village to turn. We brought it back to a state of natural habitation. We brought the people back to the valley. And we believe we may have a lead as to what happened. And
I'd like you to give me deception.
Oh.
Dull. With disadvantage.
First is a 16. Second is a natural 20. So 16 plus 11 is a 27.
While Dole is talking at the beginning of this conversation, when Winnie sees the direction things are going, she starts to pull out the candles and set them in the four corners of the room. And this is important. Dole, if you could explain, I need to focus on this. And Winnie will begin the process of casting her spell, Winnie Chandler's Private Sanctum, toward the room, but it will take her 10 minutes to do.
Ozzy Vandalist does look a little hurt by the nickname Dull, and then immediately looks to the king.
I would say with your
bullshit.
deception, with your deception, he did not catch that.
Okay.
It barely hit the DC.
And it's probably easier to remember the name too, seeing the disguise, like, we are very tired, so...
The candles are about to go up, so maybe it's about time we drop the ruse to begin with, but...
So he seems to believe you. He's like, alright, so...
King, if you could just wait maybe 2 minutes for my associate to address the decor, then we're going to tell you a lot more, apparently, that is going to bring you abreast of the situation in your kingdom.
We've been very busy.
And then once Dull has an awareness that every candle has been set, he's going to drop disguise.
Whew.
Yes.
I'm gonna roll a d6, see how you react. Oop. You drop the disguise, and he immediately draws his sword.
I need
So does
you
Vetra.
What
to
is-
understand that there is a
Buckland?
situation.
And Buckland draws his sword as well.
Yes, you can draw as many swords as you
Who are
like.
you?
I am Dull Ozan of the Falks, son of Helene Ozan. I know. I understand, but there are more pressing things happening here.
Give me a... this is going to be a contested grapple check.
Oh, great.
If I can do anything to help.
I would say probably after.
What if I don't contest?
Then he just grabs you.
He grabs me.
He grabs you, like, pulls up your shirt. And he's like, the son of the traitor is in my midst.
Yes,
You plan to kill me in my own palace.
I do not. I could have killed you
And
the
do I
last I saw
have you
you.
on your word that you won't?
I'll
I've
swear
had
on
one word of one Ozon, and that didn't really last me long.
I'll swear any oath you give me. If you'd like to collar me like a dog like they did at the last tower, I'll take it. Whatever it is.
Give me a persuasion.
18 and 10. So we've got a 21.
Okay.
What I said to you the last time we were here in the Hall of Heroes is how I feel. That we are never tested by the power that we hold, but what we do with it. I need you to understand that I feel the same way that you do. I'm worried for what's happening to the heroes, but even more so, I know what's happening. And you can think me like my mother. You can think me like any part of the Falks that you've decided for my entire community, but I am one person with one amount of power that I am trying to do the absolute best that I can with. You and I are the same. Let it be known that I came to you and I showed you my face, something my mother never did.
You feel him lower you to the ground. And he lets his hand go. He does not draw, he does not sheath his sword. You can explain.
Orly
5 minutes.
was an abomination built out of an attempt to recreate immortality in the hero Tom. Tom is trying desperately to defeat death, and in its byproducts, creating a world that cannot sustain. We need your help.
He takes very long pause. I need you to think very carefully about your next words. Do you intend to tell me that one of my closest friends and closest allies for most of my life has indeed turned against me and the Four Kingdoms, one of the most powerful magic users in the world? He's systematically hunting down the heroes and turning them into monsters. What proof? And I would like to make it very clear to you that you must have proof. What proof do you have that this is real?
I can show you what we saw. I can show you what he did to Vorley. What became of her because of what Tom did.
How can you show me this?
And Winnie will, using minor illusion, start to kind of grabbing some of the threads that came from the walls of this sanctum spell that she cast, using it to help her manifest a very convincing, or not even convincing, but detailed, rich, and lifelike image of Vorley, of this creature of hair, this creature of pain and screaming and rage that we encountered at Little Grave. And Winnie just manifests it in the space between herself and the king, and allows him and holds the spell for as long as needed for him to see or not see whatever he needs.
And as Winnie is doing this, Theo will start to rummage around in the little pouch that she keeps at her side with her bones, and she finds the little bell that was tied in Vorley's hair. And Theo, who is hidden from the king at every opportunity she has had and is rather terrified of him, will approach him and like stick out her hand, like she's asking for him to stick out his.
He'll extend his hand
And
take the bell.
Theo will drop the bell into the palm of his hand and say, "She meant a lot to me. And this is all that I have left of her. I wouldn't lie about that. And if I'm being honest, I probably couldn't, even if I wanted to. I'm not very good at lying."
Are we allowed to game plan sort of out of character our collective
Yeah,
knowledges?
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
because I mean, like, obviously, you probably would have been thinking of this before, like on the road and stuff. So, like, totally, you guys can, as quick as you can.
Okay, so maybe, I don't know if this is a thought, but the thing that just came to me is, what if we use the coin from Vigo right now?
I was thinking about that too.
Submit Vigo's evidence. My one worry is that Vigo is, of course, labeled already a treasonous war criminal, so it could go either way, but it's the closest thing we have to official hero's word. I mean, the other one would be M, but M is, of course, the other cast-off evil hero, right? The one discarded. I was also thinking we could draw attention to the consequences. We all basically just put ourselves in front of the king and said, if we're wrong, you're going to cut our heads off. Why would we do that unprovoked if we were just trying to kill him or lie about Tom, right? Just doesn't make sense to draw that much attention from someone otherworldly more powerful than us. We also have, maybe, I was thinking, Vetra's stab wound from the wraiths. That's proof that we saw them. Maybe if King has some awareness of who they are, we could draw attention to that. We also, this is Caleb speaking, not Dull, because that would be super insensitive to poor Theo, but we have Theo's dagger and the other world. That we could draw him in and say, hey, look at that big tower, we think that's Tom. You know.
I think we think that it's not Tom.
Or we don't think it's Tom, but look, it exists. We have some sort of fucking basis. In
Shadow King, you're not the only king in town.
Yeah, look, like big spooky shit. You at least know we know some things, right?
And I think on Vetra's end, if I can argue, like I'll roll persuasion if I need to, but Vetra is not going to be laying out evidence, especially with swords drawn right now. Like, Vetra is ready to defend at the first sign that this is going wrong. So I don't know if I could do like intimidation instead, but if mentioned, Vetra will show the mark from the wraiths and everything. But I think Vetra is purely on, I am going to defend whoever is being swung at first with the sword.
I mean, I think the strength of your character and conviction would be like that intimidation. Like, I believe this. We'll do a group roll, and it's a group roll or a group fail. And unfortunately, it is still at disadvantage. Your DC is a 16. So as long as 3 people or more get a 16 or above.
Well, we got one. I have a 26.
I got a 2. So, hey, Doll, can I use your inspiration?
Yeah, that's all you. Yeah, I believe in you. Come on, VJ.
I need to use my inspiration.
23.
Oh!
Winnie has a 7.
I got a 22.
Okay.
Take that, Adam. Take that, Adam.
Ruined my plans.
Rolled an 18 and a 19 with
nice.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. So the king looks at this,
Why would he do this?
And then he sort of, it looks like he remembers something.
He asked to do this years ago, right before the war ended.
The council voted and we said no.
He did it in secret. A bastard.
He did not believe that. He gestures at you. That the next generation of heroes could protect the world. He thought the current one should stand. And he was outvoted.
Tom. You damn fool.
And he looks a bit lost and he just starts to kind of wander around the office, and then he just sits in his big chair, just running his fingers over his face and through his hair, just staring down at the table.
Thank you for listening. There's so many moments that we've been going through all of this and no one would listen. We have 5 days to make this happen, King.
Because of those wraiths, those death things you talked about.
Yes.
How much do you share with the king? Do you tell him about Vigo? I mean, obviously you've told him that Tom is bad and we're gonna get him. But
I think we keep everything that was behind that paywall behind that paywall.
We don't even talk about Vigo
Yeah.
to each other. I don't think we're gonna bring him up to the king.
If he would like to pay for our Patreon,
for the first tier, can I get that exclusive content?
yes, you at least get.
It's at least
Mommy.
10 gold a month to get us to talk about Vigo.
Well, then we have to stop him.
And we
And
don't
we would
have much
love-
time. Vetra says, sword still drawn and like ready to go.
That's why we asked for the extra hours. That's why we were late. That's why we threw the party of all things.
Why did
We've
you
been
not
working.
tell me sooner?
I don't know, gang. Why didn't we tell him sooner?
You know, I'll take the L on that. That was kind of my fault, my call. Yeah, I just don't kill me for this, but I kind of don't trust authority figures at the moment. We're kind of going through some things. I'm not ready to talk about it.
We're working on it.
Are we? Am I?
That means that Tormont was involved then as well. Good thing you stopped him when you did.
I think Dull looks to everyone and, you know, it's definitely the eyes that say, are we really going to let him think that?
Well, what's important is that we go forward. You have some sort of plan, I'm assuming,
We do.
involving with the party and everything else.
We do.
How can the king of the Four Kingdoms assist?
In 5 days, which we imagine this is going to come down to the wire. I imagine this to be maybe 30 seconds on the clock sort of plan. In 5 days, we are planning something against him. But there is going to be levels to that plan that we cannot assist in while we are accomplishing what we have to.
Well, what we have right now is the element of surprise, yes?
Yes.
If I draw back troops, he might notice.
Right. You can't have them do anything outside of the ordinary right now.
Do you know if any heroes are still?
That's what I was considering, is we have a great resource, these meetings that no one attends. But something that I was planning before even all of this was revealed was I was going to ask you to attend one, King. I think that we can still abide by that. Tom usually arrives, but he does by mirror. I was thinking we could have an auxiliary meeting that has nothing to do with him, that calls all of the heroes into a secret clandestine
Dull.
attendance. Yeah.
When you say mirror, look around the room, and you're surrounded by different mirrors on the wall.
Maybe this is.
And you see a flicker in one of them.
Oh, god damn it.
And you hear it as one of the glass cracks, and you all feel you are frozen in place. And you see someone standing in the room now. You see Tom standing in the room with you.
Let's hope those candles work.
He says, well. Learned quite a lot of things recently now, have you? You can speak, but you can't move.
Hello, Tom.
Hello. I'll have to apologize. I'd like to apologize for what's about to happen.
Sure.
There's a lot of dangerous ideas that you're bringing up to my dear friend. He looks over at K.o.N. K.o.N, it seems, is not seeing this. It is only the four of you.
Is this reminiscent of what he did in the Flying Castle?
Yes.
With Vigo.
Similar, yes. He basically, time is frozen.
Frozen.
You can see, you can talk, but you can't move your body besides that.
Winnie's eyes are darting around. She is trying to figure out, how did he do this? How did he get past my spell?
So the specifics of the spell, it says that it cannot let things pass into it, but if they're already
Yes.
there.
Okay.
And you remember Vigo saying, can't tell anyone, just being worried and being secrecy is so important. And you remember Helene mentioning that he spent all of his time inside of a mirror or something, or there's some space that he has discovered, some new spell to do this. And he has heard what you have all said.
Which one of us are you taking? Can't kill us all. That would draw too much attention. Maybe you'll kill the king, brand us all as traitors, treasonous. What's the plan, Tom?
Edward is a dear friend.
Of course.
I would never want
But-
to hurt him.
We've seen what you do to your friends.
The path that you are on, he's walking around, wizard robe, long white beard, very kind eyes, with a little sparkle of madness in there. The path that you are on is very dangerous. And once you reach the end, it is, well, it's somewhere that you'd rather not go. I'll just warn you ahead of time. But the deed has been done. And someone must be punished.
You're a fucking coward.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a traitor by the toe. And he goes, as he's pointing at all of you, eeny, meeny, miny, Theo. You feel a pop in your heart. Blood falls out of your mouth, eyes, ears, nose. Blood. And you feel like something is sitting inside of your heart, as if it's moving. but you're still conscious. And he says, "It will not kill you right away. Perhaps a few hours, perhaps days, weeks, months, maybe. But not years. You do not have that long. However, if you are to change your path and forget these dangerous ideas, perhaps when everything is done, I will reverse it. Perhaps. If you can last that long. I look forward to seeing you all again." And he seems to turn towards the mirror. You also see that he has a sheen on him that is not as if a normal person. It's almost as if he is made of glass. And he turns, but then he stops. Wouldn't want to be suspicious. And he moves his finger, and the blood is wiped away clean from off of Theo's face. Goodbye. And the glass repairs itself, and then you're able to move again. And Theo, you probably fall down to the ground on the floor.
Oh, God. Don't worry. It's
What's going on? What happened?
I moved to pick up Theo.
I'm fine. He's
All right.
I'm completely fine. Don't worry. He's just bluffing. I feel fine. It's bloody nose. Oh, it is. It's bloody
What are you
nose.
talking about? Are you sick?
No, I'm not sick. There's nothing wrong with me. Like I said, it's just a bloody nose. I feel well, I actually feel pretty wretched, but that's not because of Tom. It just there's nothing wrong with me. I feel fine.
Is everything... You see the king's looking around like, what just happened?
He wants us to worry. He wants us to get distracted from what we need to do. He wants us to focus on me when there's nothing wrong with me and I feel fine. He wants us to be distracted so we waste time trying to figure out what's wrong with my body when there's nothing wrong with it, so that we run out of time and we can't stop him. That's what's going on. He wants all of you to worry about me instead of worrying about the thing that actually matters, which is stopping him. I don't understand people, but I understand how I feel, and I understand how I feel inside of my body, and my body feels fine.
I don't know where to go from here.
I mean, this is my fault.
No.
I really thought I thought we'd be able to talk, and I'm so fucking stupid. That I even thought I could challenge Tom, that I thought I could do any amount of magic that could rival what he can do. Theo, I'm so sorry.
What are you talking about? What do you mean you could talk? We're talking just now.
Tom knows.
He heard everything.
How? What do you mean? What do you mean you heard everything?
Gestures to the mirrors all around the room. He was a step ahead of us. It's
But
interesting.
I
because
thought he
you're
could only
playing
talk through one.
Mm,
How could...
he
Buckland.
walks through them.
He snaps, and then Buckland gets to it, and he starts removing the mirrors. And like
It doesn't
calling the
matter.
servants.
King, we can't tell you anything else. This
I
is
think
where
we
our
should go.
conversation ends. Thank you for trusting us. I'm sorry you had to.
And he
I'm
looks
so sorry.
shocked as people are taking mirrors out of the royal chamber, and you all, I guess, are going back to the manor. You return to South Mom Manor very quietly. Mortimer has prepared your various rooms, meals. Do you all talk, or do you go to sleep and talk about things tomorrow?
Theo, can I know you keep saying you're all right, but can I try one thing? It's, oh, I'd love to try one thing.
Winnie, will it make you feel better if you try it?
Yeah.
Then do it.
And Winnie, closing her eyes, will kind of reach out, if Theo's all right, and put a hand on her hand and squeeze her hand tight. And Winnie doesn't think it'll work, but she needs to try. And she'll cast Dispel Magic on Theo.
The DC to get this is 30. Giving the player knowledge for a second, this is a modified version of Power Word Kill, but it's delayed. There would have to be greater magic than your own to get rid of this. But if your Dispel Magic works or you get a crit, perhaps it can delay it longer.
All right. So when he spends time, I think, holding Theo's hand, trying to feel that magic, trying to understand it. And meanwhile, there's just this undercurrent of anger inside of Winnie. She is so mad that she has been so thoroughly bested by Tom, not just there, but here now, because she can feel it. But she casts her spell anyways, and that's only a 16.
Can I give my inspiration to Winnie for this?
Sure.
Kind of fueled by the rage itself, maybe?
Yeah.
Roll another die. Let's see. Okay, so that is going to, oh, this is so sad. It brings us to a 28.
Great. I'll say you can always try again tomorrow, but I would say you're feeling the strings, the different, the give and pull of them, and all these strings are so tight that you're afraid to pull any, and you pull back. But you're now slightly familiar with them, but you're unable to do anything right now.
Winnie squeezes Theo's hand real tight. I'm so sorry. I can't do it right now, but I will try again tomorrow, and I will try again the next day, and I will try again every single day until we beat Tom at this and everything else.
It's okay. You don't have to do that. You don't have to keep trying. You couldn't find it because there's nothing to find. I'm fine.
Theo, you're worth every ounce of trying I intend to pour into this, and that I intend to pour into you.
Will it make you feel better to do that?
I'd love for you to see that you're worth it.
Maybe I've already been dead a long time.
What difference does that make?
Always kind of had one foot in the grave. Maybe
And the
that's... Oh, the other one's not exactly been well grounded in the not dead place, so maybe that's my next great adventure, right?
That should be your choice, not Tom's. On your timetable, not his.
Oh, my timetable is telling me that I'm really tired, and we've had a long day, and Vetra looks really grumpy, so I think maybe we should go to bed. rest and figure out what the hell we're gonna do tomorrow. I don't have it in me to talk to Vigo right now.
Yeah, all right. I'll keep this on me. And Winnie kind of holds up the coin for a second. Until you're ready.
Thanks.
We've just moved backwards. That's all we managed to do today. And in a few moments we lose 8 more hours, and then we lose days, and then we lose minutes, seconds, and maybe it's time we started considering what he said. I keep thinking of M and that woman picking out cakes, knowing that days from now the world could end. And at the time I felt that was ridiculous, that was preposterous, that they couldn't just reach out and help us. But what if they have it right? What if we're giving away the last 5 days that we have on this fucking earth for him to win? And I keep telling myself that I don't actually care to win. I keep thinking that we're going to do it, that it's something that we have to get through, and then on the other end that we'll fix what we are, that we'll have a conversation where we address the things that have gone wrong in the last year. And that's what actually matters to me. And I'm starting to realize I don't actually have to beat him to have that. We could have 4 days where we fix everything between us and we say goodbye in a way that feels right. And maybe we just watch the stars fall, and then our friends don't have to die, and we don't have to address the constant stress and hurt of having to have an answer at every question. Maybe this is not for us. Maybe we tried our best and he was right, and he was right because he wrote the fucking game, and we're playing in a game with no answer. I don't see how we move forward. Maybe it's better if we just love each other while we can. And at this time, if we go to sleep, that's 8 hours less of fixing what's happening here at this table and not having to worry about his bullshit.
Tom's or Vigo's?
Take your pick.
The way I see it, no matter what we do, if we do what Vigo wanted us to do, we end up fucked. If we do what he didn't want us to do, we end up fucked. So why don't we do what we want to do and follow our own plan? Fuck the path that he set for us, that they've all set for us and put us on and tried to point us in the directions and pull us left and right the ways that they want us to go. It feels like we're a pawn in someone's game no matter what we do, either Vigo's or your mother's, or why do we keep doing what people tell us to do instead of what we think is right?
At this point, Vetra is taking 3 items from her pockets. I would die for any of you. I would kill for any of you. I will do whatever it takes for any of you. For years now, I have been trying to prove that I am not the dumbest one in the room, but I will never be as cunning as you, and I look to Dol. No matter how intelligent I am. You have that in the bag, Dol. But it doesn't make you wiser, it doesn't make you smarter, it makes you blind sometimes. You are looking at this like it's a chessboard, but it is so much more than that. We aren't just pieces on a board. We aren't who others have set us up to be. We forge our own futures. We always have. It seems like we've been placed on these boards, but we've made our own decisions even before we were the Knights of Nemeria. I know I have been very vocal about my thoughts on our odds, but I don't look at this plan as impossible. I'm just... If you want to fix this, whatever is happening with all of us, then I'll start. I am tired of you thinking that we have to do this because Vigo set it all up, which maybe you don't think that anymore. But also, maybe he did set it all up. Maybe it was his plan all along, but Vigo killed Davith. Whether he was pulling punches on all of us or not, he still killed Davith and Dol. He fucking enjoyed it. You know what he said to Winnie and I? He said, I want you to watch this. So forgive me if Vigo's name leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and forgive me if I don't want to be the pawns on his egotistical chessboard. I don't want this in the name of Vigo. I want this in the name of us, in the name of you. I will stand by all of you. I will defend you with everything that I am. I will protect you with every ounce of my energy that I have pulsing through my body. I will endure for you so that you can do what needs to be done to end this, in whatever way we decide. Dol, I am with you. I was with you then, I am with you now, and I will be with you until the end. And I push one package towards Dol.
Vetra, can you give me
Fuck, that's a 5.
with advantage?
Yep.
It was your fault. You should have warned them.
Theo. I don't know who you were before this, and I think I speak for all of us when I tell you that I don't care. I know who you are now, and I know who you are with us. 1 foot or 2 feet, it doesn't matter. I know what you stand for. You and I have spent the most time together in the past 2 years, and I think that's because we both understood something. We were mourning what could have been instead of what we lost. It's time to stop thinking about things that are out of reach. We're here. We're in reach of each other. And we need to stay that way. We spent so much time avoiding this topic when it was the only thing we could have actually fixed and changed before today. But no matter what Tom knows, no matter what Tom saw, we are who we decide to be from this moment on. We are who we let ourselves become, and nothing else really matters now, does it? But Theo, I need you to know that we couldn't have done any of this without you. And we can't take on the rest without you either. We're gonna keep trying. We're gonna do everything we can. Theo, I am with you. I was with you then. I am with you now, and I will be with you until the end. And I push another package towards Winnie.
You look at Winnie and you can see Davith standing behind her. Just like,
She's everything you're not. She could have stopped what happened. You couldn't.
Winnie, I'm gonna have the most trouble saying what I need to say to you. Not because it's any harder to say, but because Davith won't fucking let me. I've seen him, and I've heard him every day for the past 2 years, and I know it's not really him. He's saying things that I've only ever said to myself, and things that I've only ever thought he would say, but I know it's not him. He's not saying these things. I'm saying them through him in this weird, haunting guilt, and I know that, but it won't stop. Because I can't stop it alone, and I'm so tired. I have avoided you the most because every single time I look at you, I am terrified of what I hear and see and feel. I hear Davith comparing us, praising you, questioning me, undermining everything that I do. And I see him just out of my line of sight with blood pouring from his mouth and his wounds. I see him every day, and I hear him in every silence, just as he was as Vigo did what he did. And I avoid you, knowing you have more of him to mourn than I do. You knew him more than I did. You were closer to him, and even if it was more professional, it was something. You've lost something, and I'm over here avoiding you like I'm the one he was ripped from. The more he haunts me, though, the more I realize it's not Davith that this is rooting from. It's not even me. Not really. And that's when things start to get really tricky. Because it's you. I have been projecting everything that I feel when I look at you, and I'm putting Davith's face on it because it's easier to blame him. It's easier to blame him for what I feel because then I don't have to face it. Because he's dead. So who would I have to answer to? I never considered that I'd have to answer to you. When we first met, after we tried to kill each other, something just kind of made sense. Something clicked. We worked together, we made sense, we fought alike, and now I know why. And then we skipped that day in the tavern when we arrived to investigate those missing people. When we saw Davith and realized we both knew him. And I realized you knew him better, even though I was his blood, and that's when it started. Thinking that our differences were there to show me what you did better than I did. The differences were just enough for Davith to work alongside you and look down on me. But somehow, I still didn't resent the differences. I was fond of them, honestly, fond of how you fought and strategized like I never could. And then Vigo ripped Davith out from under us like a rug. And all of the resentment that I thought I should have felt for you, for our differences, I felt them all right then. All at once, without even knowing who I was feeling them towards. But I don't resent you. I don't resent Davith. I don't even resent myself, if you can believe it. I resent what that day turned us all into. I resent Vigo for ripping our worlds apart, and I resent that day for ripping you from fighting at my side, because going forward, Winnie, I need you with me. I need you beside me, and I need you to know that you are more powerful than Tom, and I cannot wait for the day that you realize it. Winnie, I am with you. I was with you then. I am with you now, and I will be with you until the very end.
In Vetra, you do not have to make any more saving throws. Because you see Davith standing behind Winnie, and you see just like this disgusting blood just falling out of his mouth and just like getting ready to whisper, and then you blink and then you see your father normally standing there looking proud, and just you spoke this truth to yourself and to Winnie, and he smiles and he disappears, and that handprint fades away.
So, Vetra has handed you a package with an item and a letter. I just ask that you wait to read the letter.
And for the audience, Kerri sent an actual letter, an actual thing to everyone.
Oh. Kerri. Holy shit.
Yay! Vetra says these things, and a line from Vigo's letter stands out to you all in this moment. And it's the line, "It is strange, it is a strange thing to have despised hope, when it is all that I have left in the end." The night passes, or the day and the night passes. You all individually do something alone, but we will come back to those things next time. But after those things are done, it is maybe midday with 4 days remaining, and you all sit inside of the manor. I would say Mortimer has removed all of the mirrors and reflective surfaces, and you remain in, perhaps you all are join in the war room.
Well, as much as I want everything to be healed and new and good again. It doesn't have to be perfect. Things were never really perfect between all of us to begin with anyway, but I'm dying. I don't see any point in holding hands and crying and whiling away the next 4 days of our lives. If I'm already done for, if that's inevitably what's going to happen to me, I would rather try and solve this thing.
Winnie is wearing the necklace given by Vetra the day before, and sitting in her chair, kind of thumbing at it a bit idly. Winnie nods along with Theo. It's not just the stars here that Tom's actions threaten to take away. It's the stars everywhere, and one day I want to go home to my little town on the edge of nowhere, and I want to lay on the roof of my mom's house, and I want to look up at those stars. So I'm ready to do whatever I need to do to make sure that that's something that I can do. That's something I can do. And that's my choice. It's a choice I'm making right now.
Yeah, it's not me I'm worried about now. It's the people I leave behind.
Theo, I'm not letting you leave any of us behind. I mean, Vetra, you said so you said so many wonderful things yesterday and hard things. Thank you. But one of the things that I keep thinking about is how you said it several times to each of us. You stand with us then and you stand with us now, and I'd like to stand with all of you now, working together like things used to be. Just doing our best, trusting each other, talking, figuring things out.
Yeah, my memory is pretty hazy after the war, after the Great War. But Winnie, do you remember the soldiers who the warriors who came home, and some of them had limbs that were missing, that were cut off by magic, couldn't be grown back, couldn't be replaced. They were just wounded and it was gone. Do you ever see people like that?
It's been a long time, but I remember some of the people I fought next to were kind of suffered that fate on the field.
Well, some of them, even weeks or months and probably years later, they would still feel an itch or a tickle from what they lost from an arm or a leg, like it was still there sometimes. And I haven't lost an arm or a leg, but I have lost something, or maybe I never really had it to begin with, at the very center of me. And I still don't feel anything there most of the time, except late at night when I'm alone, and then it's like I can feel a whisper of it. And I know that you don't want me to go. I know you don't want me to die, but I don't know if I can live with that feeling forever. I don't know if it's a missing soul or a broken heart. Maybe it's both now. But maybe what I need is to do one last good thing, or one only good thing to make up for whoever I was to begin with. And then I'm gone.
Listen, I'm in the room. That's all I have. I don't know who we're convincing, but I'm here.
I mean, I think a bit of this is we're convincing ourselves, right? It took us 2 years to get to this point where we're sitting around a table talking to each other. If we can convince ourselves, then I don't know, maybe the rest will be easy. Though the task we have at hand is a bit much.
You hear a knock on the door. And no one answers it.
I will scooch that way. Hand on sword just because I'm jumpy as fuck, and I'll answer the door.
You see Stuart Buckland come in, and he has a note, and he hands it directly to you, and he nods and turns around and leaves.
Okay, yeah, bring it over to the group and read it.
Open it. It's addressed from the king. And he says, he has not won yet. And you feel, even though it's not a known magic, but you're all in this room together. Tom is alone. And that means he's weak. Because he doesn't have friends. And all of the things that Vetra said, that Winnie said, that Theo said, and that Dole maybe said silently. It all, him being there, it all, you feel, though it sounds corny, a sort of magic of this friendship that is strength in and of itself. And that's something. But whether you choose to grab onto it, I guess that's your choice. You see the map on the war room table. You see the 2-day journey to where Baradin is.
I think we have to try.
And if I'm being perfectly honest, I've got a little bit of personal business I'd like to attend to with Baradin, and if we fail and everything goes to shit, I'd like to at the very least see that through as well.
I would say we fast forward 2 days of travel later. Gone on the last dirt road, and now it is onto just straight grass in the wilderness. You reach through a clearing, and you see these very tall spires, what you think is a giant castle, and then you realize it's just a shadow of trees, and you look down, and you see a small little forest cottage. Very cozy, very comfortable, with a little farm, with a little garden standing next to it, and you hear some movement over there. You see that there is a scarecrow with a little pumpkin head on it, and you hear some noise. And then coming around the corner, you see a little girl, a little tiefling girl who has gray skin, rainbow horns, and she looks very young, and she points all at you, and she's like, "You're gonna play dragons with me!"
Caleb James Miller and I say things here.
I'm VJ Stonecraft and I don't.
I am Sarah, and I will say some words that will be appropriate this time.
I am Kerri, and I know that's probably a lie.
And as soon as Adam was like, okay, you gotta submit concrete evidence, I'm like, none of our shit is real.
We
What?
don't have that.
Concrete evidence.
I'll expect you within the hour. That's not
Oh.
the king.
Dad?
Hello, the okay. Ali owns a beer. All right, that's who it is.
Yeah, so how's everybody feeling?
Yeah.
Oh boy.